The colony ship Perseverance had been Jackson's home for 3 years, circling the gas giant Tethys 9, while surveying its 17 moons for habitable zones. He stood at the observation deck, watching the violet storms rage across the planet's atmosphere, his reflection ghosting over the reinforced Peristyle. The alien woman never came, he said sadly to his own image, thinking of Orla she had promised to return. 6 months ago, when her people's diplomatic vessel had docked with Perseverance, she had walked through those corridors with scales that shimmered like oil on water, iridescent purples and deep emeralds that shifted with her mood. The Draca were humanity's first contact with an intelligent spacefaring species, and Orla had been their xenobiologist. As curious about humans as Jackson had been about her kind, they had spent weeks together, sharing data, theories, and gradually, something deeper. She had explained how her people saw in the infrared spectrum, how they could taste electromagnetic fields, how their triple-hearted circulatory system made them nearly immune to the cardiac failures that plagued human space travelers. He had shown her Earth's music, the concept of laughter, the strange human need for physical touch as comfort. When her ship departed, she had pressed her clawed hand against the airlock glass. "I will return, Jackson Chen, the Draca do not forget bonds forged in the void." But she hadn't returned. Calm silence from the Draca territories had stretched into months. Rumors spread through the fleet, political upheaval, territorial disputes with another species, or worse. The Draca had simply lost interest in humanity. Jackson turned from the view, ready to return to his quarters, when the emergency alert chimed through the ship. Not the battle station's klaxon, but the environmental warning. Atmospheric breach on Moon 7, the terraforming candidate. His datapad lit up with telemetry. A single unauthorized shuttle had crash-landed in Sector 12, near the prototype atmospheric processors. The signature was Draca. Jackson's heart hammered against his ribs. Protocol demanded he report to his station, await orders. Let the security team handle first contact with any unexpected arrivals. But his fingers were already pulling up the duty roster. He had EVA certification. He could requisite a surface shuttle. 20 minutes later, he was descending through Moon 7's thin, manufactured atmosphere. The settlement below was barely a collection of prefab domes and machinery, a skeleton of humanity's ambitions. Rain fell, actual rain, the first successful precipitation cycle in the terraforming process. It streaked across his shuttle's viewscreen as he followed the beacon to the crash site. The Drakkar shuttle was embedded in the muddy ground, its hull scored and blackened. The crash had been violent. Jackson sat down 50 meters away and grabbed his emergency kit, checking his suit's integrity before cycling through the airlock. Moon 7's atmosphere was breathable now, but barely thin and cold, with oxygen levels that would leave a human gasping after minutes of exertion. Through the rain, he saw her. Orla sat beside the wreckage, her wings those magnificent sail-like membranes that folded along her spine wrapped around something she held against her chest. Her scales had lost their luster, appearing dull and gray in the weak light. The rain ran off her in rivulets. She was crying. Jackson had never seen a Drakkar cry before. Their tears were luminescent, glowing a soft blue as they tracked down her elongated face and dripped onto whatever she held. Jackson ran forward, his boots splashing through puddles of mud and rainwater. Her head snapped up. Eyes, those triple-lidded eyes with pupils that contracted to slits widening in recognition. "Jackson." Her voice came out as a rasp, filtered through the translator implant at her throat. "You should not be here. It is not safe." He knelt beside her, ignoring the rain soaking through his expedition suit. "What happened?" "Your ship, my ship, is no more." Her arms tightened around her burden, and Jackson finally saw what she held. An egg, roughly the size of a human infant. Its shell was a deep crimson with veins of gold running through it, pulsing with a faint internal light. "My people," there was those who wanted peace with humanity, and those who saw you as inferior, unworthy of the stars. The traditionalists seized control of the fleet. Jackson's blood ran cold. A coup. War. The word came out, sharp, bitter. "I escaped with others who refused to participate, but they hunted us, shot us down across this sector. I was the only one whose shuttle made it to atmosphere." Her glowing tears fell faster now. "This is my daughter, my final clutch. In my culture, when a mother carries her egg to term alone, she becomes its sole guardian, its only connection to the ancestral memory. But I have no home to take her to, no clan to present her before. I am nothing." The despair in her voice cut through Jackson like a blade. He had studied Drakkar psychology enough to know that their sense of identity was tied to their lineage, their clan structures. To be severed from that was to be unmade. You're not nothing, Jackson said firmly. He reached out slowly, telegraphing the movement, and placed his hand on her scaled shoulder. She flinched but didn't pull away. You're here. You survived, and you've protected your daughter, but where do I go? The Drakkar territories are close to me. I am declared traitor. And humanity, she laughed, a harsh sound. Why would your people shelter me? I am the face of a species that has now turned hostile. Jackson thought fast. The political implications were enormous, but in this moment, sitting in the rain beside an alien mother cradling her unhatched child, politics seemed insignificant. You come with me, back to Perseverance. We'll figure out the rest later. He stood, offering his hand. You once told me that Drakkar don't forget bonds forged in the void. Neither do humans. I made a promise to be your friend. That doesn't change because your government got stupid. Orla stared at his outstretched hand for a long moment. Then, carefully shifting the egg to one arm, she placed her clawed hand in his and let him pull her to her feet. She towered over him by nearly a meter, even hunched with exhaustion. Your superiors will not approve, she said. Probably not, but we'll deal with that together. Jackson grinned up at her. Besides, you're technically a refugee now. We have protocols for that, and Moon 7's settlement needs a xenobiologist. We're trying to introduce compatible ecosystems here. You're literally the most qualified person in this entire sector. For the first time, Orla's scales rippled with color, a faint shimmer of hopeful blue. And my daughter, she'll be the first Drakkar born under human protection. That's got to count for something. They walked together through the rain toward Jackson's shuttle, an alien mother and a human friend, carrying between them the fragile promise of a future neither of their peoples had planned for. Behind them, Moon 7's atmospheric processes hummed steadily, turning thin air into something breathable, transforming a dead rock into a home. Perhaps, Jackson thought, they could do the same for broken bonds between species. Perhaps that was what HFY truly meant, not humanity's dominance, but humanity's stubborn insistence that bonds of compassion transcended politics, biology, and even war. The rain continued to fall, washing away the scorch marks from Orla's crashed shuttle, feeding the first fragile plants taking root in the alien soil. It was a beginning.